Tahrir brokered agreement with Hamas in exchange for a pause in Gaza fighting. The dramatic family reunions have now taken place on 4 straight evenings, and 50 former hostages are now with their loved ones. And ILTV's Steve Leibovich has more.
The 11 freed Israeli hostages entered Israel via the Kerem Shalom crossing, not traveling through Egypt as was done on the previous 3 exchanges. Hamas staged a dramatic handover to the Red Cross as mothers and children were taken to safety. After a brief medical checkup and an opportunity for the hostages to call their families, they were airlifted to Tel Aviv's Ichilov hospital and reunited with their loved ones.
Tonight, a group of hostages was released from Gaza and arrived in Israel. The group is made up of 9 Israeli children, 2 Israeli women, after 52 days in captivity in Gaza. The Ichilov hospital was prepared and ready to receive them. In the hospital, the freed hostages met their families for the first time and will receive medical and psychological care as needed.
Like the previous hostages before them, all received medical assistance as needed. They are also being given quiet time with their family.
We can say at this point that all our children and mothers are in a stable medical condition, and we will further on continue with medical evaluation. Right now, they are spending time with their families in a quiet environment, and we want them to be with their families in order to provide a quiet environment and a supportive system in order to ease their come to Israel.
The compound prepared spacious areas equipped with the most advanced facilities. Each family is treated separately, allowing maximum privacy and support during these emotional times. Since Friday, 50 Israeli hostages have been released as part of an initial deal for a 4-day lull in fighting in Gaza and the release of 3 Palestinian prisoners for each Israeli hostage. Parallel negotiations also released 17 Thais, 1 Filipino, and 1 dual Russian-Israeli national.
They deny the kidnapping of our children, the murder of our grandchildren, the rape of our daughters. The new Nazis we face today will stop at nothing to destroy civilization as we know it. The World Jewish Congress was created exactly for these times like this, so every Jew can fall asleep at night knowing they are safe in their own home. We are a voice for the Jewish people everywhere. We are the World Jewish Congress.
Once again, happy moments mixed with sadness and concern as the 11 Israeli hostages and 3 foreign nationals were released from captivity last night. Here are their stories.
מקווים שנפגוש אותם כמה שיותר מהר, ברגע שהם ירגישו טוב יותר, וברגע שהם יבקשו לראות אותנו, אנחנו נגיע הכי מהר שאנחנו יכולים.
11 hostages, including 9 children and 2 mothers, were freed from Hamas captivity in the Gaza Strip after enduring 52 days of uncertainty and fear. Among them are Or and Yagil, who returned home last night to the embrace of their mother, Renana Goma. On October 7th, the terrorists broke into the family's home and abducted the 2 brothers, Or 16 and Yagil 12. Just 2 weeks ago, the Islamic Jihad released a video in which Yagil was seen in Gaza. Now, the siblings are back home while their father remains in Hamas captivity. Eitan Yahalomi, 12 years old from Nir Oz, has been reunited with his mother, Batsheva, and 2 sisters. His father, Oded, was shot, and the terrorists abducted Batsheva and the children, separating them onto 2 motorcycles. Batsheva and her daughters managed to escape, only to realize Oded and Eitan had been abducted. Sharon and David Cunio were abducted from Nir Oz along with their 3-year-old twin daughters, Emma and Yuli. Sharon, who recovered from cancer in the past year, returned home with her 2 daughters, while their father David remains in Gaza. In another family saga, Karina, 51, and her daughter Mika, 18, and Yuval, 11, are now back in Israel, but the father and husband Ronen remains in Gaza. Karina, who battled cancer, is now being treated at the hospital. Hadas Calderon's fierce fight to reunite with her abducted children Shachar, 16, and Erez, 12, now came to an end. Erez was abducted along with his father Ofer and sister Shachar, also leaving their husband and father behind.
And as more hostages have returned home, it is a bittersweet time as we celebrate the returns, however, still feel pain for the hostages still held in Gaza. And ILTV's Ariel Alachiani went to the headquarters of the families of the hostages in Tel Aviv today to hear the voice of those still awaiting the return of their loved ones. Take a look.
I'm here now just outside the headquarters for the families of the hostages here in Tel Aviv, where they've been coming every day to pray for the safe return of their loved ones, along with many other people who've been coming to show support and stand in solidarity. I'm about to speak to Lila Munda, who's had 4 relatives taken into Gaza. Fortunately, 3 of them were released on Friday night. However, her grandfather still remains a hostage. Let's hear what she has to say.
I have 4 relatives that has been to Gaza. 3 of them got released on Friday night, which was so lovely to hear that. So awesome, you know. But still, my grandpa is in Gaza. This is Oad. He's my cousin. He got released on Friday night with his mother, my aunt Karen, and with our grandmother Ruti, which also got released on Friday night. And this is my grandpa Avraham. He is still in Gaza. We want him back now, please.
So amazing. You've had 3 home, but so much pain still to have him there. Have you been updated on his condition at all? And when your other relatives were in there, were you updated at all, or you didn't know anything?
I got update from the IDF, but not a lot of information. Sorry. You know, I'm just continue to hoping that everyone will be released soon, and I want them back. That's all. I want my family to be together again.
It's bittersweet. Obviously, you've had 3 home and 1 still there. How do you feel to be seeing more and more coming out and your grandpa's still there?
I know that most of the families want their beloved back, so I'm happy for them, for everyone that got released in this deal, and I hope that the deal will continue and everyone will come back.
Do you feel hopeful that if the ceasefire is extended, that you'll see him come home?
I'm sure he will come home. There isn't another option. Like, he will come home. Everyone will come home safe and healthy.
Is there anything else you want to say, maybe to people watching across the world?
That just continue to smile and everything will go exactly the way it has to be. And everything is positive, you know, just continuing to laugh, to love, and everything will be great.
And we're praying for you, Lila, too. And only hours before the 4-day pause in Gaza fighting was due to expire, a 2-day extension was announced in the Qatari and Egyptian brokered agreement that would see 20 more hostages released during 2 more days of a pause in fighting. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
Israel has received a list of 10 hostages due to be released tonight after an agreement was brokered by Qatar and Egypt for a 2-day extension in the pause of fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. The list of hostages is currently being reviewed and notices delivered to the families of those set to be freed tonight and possibly tomorrow.
המאמץ להשבת החטופים הוא חובתנו המוסרית והערכית. אנחנו נחושים לממש אותה בכל דרך. המאמץ הלילה מתקדם, ואנחנו נעדכן את המשפחות והציבור שדברים יקרו. נדרש להתאזר בסבלנות, יש התקדמות משמעותית, אנחנו נעדכן את הציבור שדברים יקרו.
The original deal incentivized for additional hostage releases, 10 Israeli hostages per additional day of pause in the Israeli military campaign in Gaza. The extension paves the way for the release of some 20 more people held hostage by the Palestinian terrorists. Sticking with the 3-for-1 arrangement, 60 Palestinian security prisoners are due to be released from Israeli prisons. The government okayed the security prisoner list should additional Israeli hostages be released. Qatar and Egypt brokered the extension and have made no secret that they would like the truce to continue for as long as possible in order to allow more humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. A steady stream of aid trucks carrying relief supplies and vital fuel have been crossing from Egypt into Gaza amid the ongoing pause in fighting. A daily influx of 200 truckloads is scheduled to enter the Gaza Strip. These shipments comprise essential items including cooking gas, canned food, and makeshift tents. Aid workers in Gaza are saying the pause needs to be as long as possible.
So the last few days have really given us an opportunity to get to some of the communities in the north. But it's really not enough. What we need is a long-term ceasefire so that we can serve people across Gaza in the north and in the south.
Israeli political and military leaders all insist that as soon as the current hostage deal is over, the IDF will resume its operations to remove Hamas from Gaza.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
Yes, the ceasefire is now extended by 2 more days, and here to talk to us through what's next is journalist, attorney, and author Bendrol Yamini. Bendrol, the Qatari broker deal has now managed to make a 2-day extension in the truce for hostages agreement. Will Hamas likely fulfill the latest stage, and is that the end of the line before fighting is renewed?
I guess in short time we will know. I mean, today, tomorrow afternoon, if they their part they are going to fulfill. I guess they will. Because I think that they want one more extension of the pause. They want it to be extended. So I guess for the moment they will. What will be after tomorrow midnight, we have no idea. We do not know. I mean, people are, I guess, from both sides, they are negotiating now in Qatar, maybe also in Cairo, in order to see if there is any kind of option to extend it with a new agreement about we have more 40 women and children that were not released yet. So we have to wait and see.
Bendrol, we saw the Qatari plane landing here in Israel this morning. I want to ask you about the story that came out yesterday, the odd story of Sinwar getting in the tunnels and meeting the hostages, telling them everything's going to be all right. We factually saw it wasn't all right. What can we say more about that story, or maybe about the meaning of the story of him entering the tunnels and saying, really, in a lot of, what he said? What can we say about it?
Okay.
A lot of confidence.
That's exactly what. Yeah. But it was in the second day, which means that he was quite confident that first of all the story will be published. Second, it was still for him safe to meet with the hostages, and he's making a show after what happened in October 7, after all the atrocities. He understood that probably they made a mistake because public opinion, generally speaking, global public opinion was totally, at least at the beginning, siding with Israel. It's a bit changing now, but for him it was one more move in order, maybe, just maybe, to show, it's not me, I'm just fighting against the Israeli occupation, against the siege, and I have nothing against the hostages. Look, I even meet them, I even speak with them. Okay, they starved them, they they were not really in good conditions, so his word was not kept. So
Yes,
that's a man. That's a man. Yeah.
We're seeing the Hamas is trying really hard to seem humane in any way. Now, I want to ask you, the Israeli leaders have said that the deal will not be extended beyond 10 days. The extension covers days 5 and 6. Might there be days 7 to 10? And could that include men and soldiers now?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. It's very strange that Israel is actually dancing according to the music of the Hamas. No, it should not be the way. I mean, they are not supposed to drag us to what they want to do, their kind of deal. It should be Israel who is initiating. I mean, Israel can say, and to my opinion, should say, yes, we are offering you a ceasefire, but in order to have this kind of ceasefire, which of course will include the release of all the hostages, we will not shoot even not one bullet, but you have to disarm the Gaza Strip, and you have no more the rule of the Hamas. Now, we know that they will not accept it. We know. It's not that they are willing to give up their control over the Gaza Strip, but at least Israel can initiate something. And because we are dealing also with public opinion, global public opinion, that is going to put pressure on Israel, why not in advance to say, no, it's not us. It's not us who are against ceasefire. Yes. It's not us, it's the Hamas. So maybe the headlines in 2 days will be Israel is refusing any kind of ceasefire. Instead of that, it should be Hamas is refusing a ceasefire. But Israel should initiate. That's all what I'm saying.
Yes, you're saying making sure Israel controls what's happening here and not Hamas now.
Yeah, and yes, exactly.
Now we're seeing the Qataris, the Egyptians, and many international leaders wanting the ceasefire to be really permanent, to stay, so war doesn't start again. What do we know about that, about what the IDF says here, what the government says here?
Yeah, the IDF, I don't like this kind of war declarations. I don't like it because, I mean, if you want to shoot. Don't talk so much. I mean, and they are speaking so much about, what is going to happen to you the very moment that there will be an end to this ceasefire or pause. No, you don't have to talk that much. You have to say, no, it's not our goal. Our goal is not war. Our goal is to eradicate the Hamas. Our goal is to disarm the Gaza Strip. The goal is not war. Yes. And it's a big mistake. I mean, and also from the point of view of the global public opinion. I mean, Israel should not declare we need this kind of... No, the opposite. Let the Hamas. This is a terror organization. They should say, no, we don't want. Yes. We are rejecting every offer. So I'm sorry to say, but I don't... I mean, of course it is justified to eradicate the Hamas, needless to say. But the way that Israel is actually playing is, I don't think this is the best way.
That's a really strong point. Thank you so much for joining us today, and stay safe.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes, at this point of happiness mixed with sadness for all the hostages still left behind, everyone is hoping to see Mother Shiri and the two redheads, Ariel and Kfir. Last night, IDF revealed that the Bibas family, including 10-month-old Kfir, the youngest hostage, have been moved by Hamas to a different Palestinian faction and are likely held in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. The family, now one of the most recognizable symbols of this tragedy, was abducted from Kibbutz Nir Oz on October 7th. The transfer to another group could reduce the likelihood of the family will be released under the terms of the ceasefire 2-day extension, which is supposed to see another 20 Israeli hostages freed in exchange for 60 Palestinian prisoners. In response to the news, the relatives expressed deep uncertainty, acknowledging the somber reality that the awaited reunion might not happen soon. Yes, terrorists holding a 10-month-old baby in captivity. This is just unimaginable and is something the whole world should be screaming out loud, and we must bring Yarden, Shiri, Ariel and Kfir back home now. Hamas released a 12-year-old hostage but not her mom, despite promising not to separate them, which is a clear violation of the current agreement. This as Israel is doing everything in its power to prevent this in the next few days.
My niece Hila was released from Hamas captivity. We're very happy to get her back. It was very emotional meeting her. But on the other hand, we still have my sister, Hila's mother, held by Hamas in Gaza. So we are kind of in mixed feelings now. We're torn apart, and it's really hard for us to imagine what Raya and Hila feels being away from each other, being taken from each other. How Raya feels. She's still in captivity in Gaza, and she had her daughter taken from her. She doesn't know if she's going to be released and when. It's very hard to think about. It's very emotional.
The release of the third group of hostages faced multiple hurdles. 12-year-old Hila Rotem was released without her mother, Raya Rotem, still in Hamas captivity, claiming she's nowhere to be found. Hila's uncle Yair Rotem told reporters this weekend that he does not believe Hamas claimed that they do not know where the girl's mother is, and added that Hila said she had been held hostage with her mother until being separated 2 days before her release.
I think it's a really rude and cynical violation of the agreement of Hamas with Israel, which was signed with Qatar and the Egyptian mediators. I think it's really inhuman to do something like this. The deal specifically said you should release children, together with their parents or mothers. And in this case, it was a rude violation of the agreement by Hamas, and just cynical, I think. I mean, why do something like this? They were clearly held together because that's what Emily and Hila says, and they were just torn apart.
And after Hamas violated the deal explicitly prohibiting the separation of mothers from their children, reports suggest that the Mossad has actively pressed for Raya's release in the past 2 days, yet no success achieved. This as Israeli mediators are tirelessly working to prevent the separation of families, both mothers and children, upon release. And it's crucial to note the many fathers that were left behind until a new deal emerges. Israeli women have been murdered, kidnapped, and raped on October 7, but the UN and other global women organizations failed to condemn the atrocities committed by Hamas and offer serious aid as they should. ILTV's Devo Klein with more.
Many Israelis were angry at the statements of Queen Rania of Jordan, who questioned the atrocities committed by Hamas terrorists and even said that there was no evidence that Israeli children were beheaded. However, these days, the state of Israel is waging a diplomatic battle against another senior Jordanian. Dr. Sima Bahous, head of the United Nations Women's Organization, that along with her organization, blatantly and systematically ignore the harm to Israeli women in the events of October 7th, including ignoring murders, injuries, kidnappings, and rape passed by the terrorists. In the meantime, a handful of protesters have braved the rain in Jerusalem last night, calling on the United Nations to speak up about women they say were subjected to sexual violence by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. This comes amidst the criticism of the UN and other women organizations who haven't said a word about the atrocities committed. The protesters demonstrated in front of the UN building in Jerusalem as Israel was holding a meeting at the Geneva headquarters to raise awareness of Hamas sexual violence.
And we are here to tell them that we are not going to let them be silent anymore. We want them to shout out for all the women in Israel, like they shout out for all the other women in the world. It doesn't matter what your nationality or where you come from. You have to shout out for women that were abused, that were raped. Rape is a crime of war, and we have to stop it now. And we are here to let them know that we are not going to let them be silent. Nothing like that's going to happen.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies expected tonight around the country with lows of 11 degrees Celsius or 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, more cloudy skies and cool temperatures set to reach highs of only 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channel, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and of course, do not forget to check out our new and improved website, ILTV.tv, With all of the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel, I'm Amit Harari. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.